So about 1/4 or more, actually, judging by the number of pages of this book, is dedicated to the life and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. Now, do not mistake this from some of the presentations in Christianity that you may have had problems with and thus have rejected the Bible, because those types of idiosyncrasies aren't in the Urantia book. Those philosophical errors, as in Jesus being a required ransom from God in order to gain mercy for the humans. The divine nature of love and mercy is infinite. It's eternal, I should say. So, in doing so, when I approached the Urantia book, I had already rejected Jesus as a teacher, as a personality, because I attached it so much to that concept of Christianity and those things that I found to be problematic. But when you read this presentation, have an open mind of the teachings of Jesus here, because it's really profound. And it is written by a midwayer, which is between man and angel, a spiritual entity that we can't see, beings, personalities that we can't see, but are here on the planet as the permanent residents of the planet. No matter how many generations come and go, no matter how many spiritual teachers come and go, the midwayers are the permanent residents. So they are very well versed in the history of the exact teachings and the exact order of events in the life of Jesus of Nazareth. And you can see the stunning detail that it's portrayed in. So that's just a little introduction. We have a request from Rose and her family about the burial of Jesus. And there's some really key important things here that we're gonna look at. But let's just kind of go through a little bit here, and then we'll get into some. We'll just start right here. The day and a half that Jesus' mortal body lay in the tomb of Joseph, the period between his death on the cross and the resurrection, is a chapter in the earth career of Michael. And Michael meaning that is Jesus' celestial personal name. Jesus was the incarnation, and his parents named him Jesus. But the personality was Michael of Nebadon, creator of a local universe. So that's why they say Michael, which is little known to us. We can narrate the burial of the Son of Man, they called him the Son of God and the Son of Man, and put it in this record of the events associated with his resurrection, but we cannot supply much information of an authentic nature about what really transpired during this epoch of about 36 hours, from 3 o'clock Friday afternoon to 3 o'clock Sunday morning. So you're seeing the details. So people that are even into Christianity, they would like this presentation of Jesus' life. It really delves into it. But they would just have to get over the understanding that Jesus was a ransom, and that actually didn't need to happen. This crucifixion didn't need to happen. It was just the natural occurrence of events because of priests of the day who were very threatened by Jesus' spiritual authority, telling the people that God was within them, and they didn't have to do pay to the priest class in order to gain favor from God and that sort of thing. So he threatened their pocketbooks, basically, and they wanted him out of town. And they didn't want to put him on a cross. They just wanted him to get the hell out of there. But Jesus was too strong for that, as in he wouldn't be a coward and just run away from his spiritual truth just because he was threatened with his life being taken. Because he understood that his life is like a dirty shirt. When it's old, you throw it out. It's just an old garment or something like that, his body. And he will carry on and continue on. And we can all have that understanding. Not that we purposely throw our life away, but we don't let people push us around with the threat of our life, because that's that fear-based toxin, the number one poison on the planet. So we want to foster our life. We want to have the healthiest life that we possibly can, but we don't let others use that as a bargaining chip to sacrifice our spiritual virtues, just like the example set forth by Jesus of Nazareth. And they know from a historical standpoint, everyone agrees that Jesus of Nazareth was a personality. They agree on that he was also crucified. That is part of the historical narrative truth of fact of Jesus of Nazareth. The Urantia book is also concluding here that there's a resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, and they talk a little bit about how that occurred. So the body was just supposed to be here. Let's look. When Joseph and Nicodemus arrived at Golgotha, they found the soldiers taking Jesus down from the cross, and representatives of the Sanhedrin standing by to see that none of Jesus' followers prevented his body from going to the criminal burial pits. When Joseph presented Pilate's order for the master's body to the centurion, the Jews raised a tumult and clamored for its possession. So they wanted, his followers wanted his body because their normal procedure was just to throw it in a pit and let the animals eat at it because he's considered a criminal. So they secured the body though. And but a crucified person could not be buried in the Jewish cemetery. So there was all sorts of various rules about these things here. At about 4:30, the burial procession of Jesus of Nazareth started from. So you get a point about there's just really a very descriptive record here about what was transpiring. But this is all on the kind of human level. Let's look into see what's transpiring on the spiritual level. That gives us a key and insight into what was going on with his resurrection. So as some may know, Jesus promised to his disciples that he would rise again. And let's look and see what happened. During the Sabbath day, throughout this Sabbath day, the disciples and the apostles remained in hiding while all Jerusalem discussed the death of Jesus on the cross. Now, that's a historical fact. So we know that happened. We know that, and at very least, whether or not people want to regard Jesus as believe that he was the creator son of the local universe, he was at the very least a very good man. There were almost 1.5 million Jews present in Jerusalem at this time, hailing from all parts of the Roman Empire and from Mesopotamia. This was the beginning of the Passover week, and all these pilgrims would be in the city to learn of the resurrection of Jesus and to carry the report back to their homes. Late Saturday night, John Mark summoned the 11 apostles secretly to come to the home of his father, where just before midnight they all assembled to the same upper chamber where they had partaken of the Last Supper with their master 2 nights previously. Mary, the mother of Jesus, with Ruth and Jude, returned to Bethany to join their family this Saturday evening just before sunset. David Zebedee remained at the home of Nicodemus, where he had arranged for his messengers to assemble early Sunday morning. The women of Galilee, who prepared spices for the further embalming of Jesus' body, tarried at the home of Joseph of Arimathea. So it's quite phenomenal this was such a huge event for these people. It just really persisted in history as being the most famous human being to ever walk on the face of this planet. And wouldn't that match up with this idea that the Urantia book is teaching, that he was the creator son of the local universe, come here to do a bestowal mission to teach beings about spirituality with all of the power and authority that a creator son would have, yet still having the human aspect, and that's important to understand, and subjecting himself to the human life. And so it would match up that being would be the most famous being in the history of the planet. And he was a success, too. Whereas some of the other spiritual revelations were not successful, the first 2, in fact. We are not able fully to explain just what happened to Jesus of Nazareth during this period of a day and a half when he was supposed to be resting in Joseph's new tomb. So these are the midwayers who don't even know what's transpiring. Apparently, he died the same natural death on the cross as would any other mortal in the same circumstances. We heard him say, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. We do not fully understand the meaning of such a statement, inasmuch as his thought adjuster had long since been personalized and so maintained an existence apart from Jesus's mortal being. So he already had his thought adjuster, was already an entity on its own. The master's personalized adjuster could in no sense be affected by his physical death on the cross. And remember, your adjuster is your fragment of God that is within you. That which Jesus put into the Father's hands for the time being must have been the spirit counterpart of the adjuster's early work in spiritualizing the mortal mind so as to provide for the transfer of the transcript of the human experience to the mansion worlds. There must have been some spiritual reality in the experience of Jesus which was analogous to the spirit nature or soul of the faith-growing mortals of the spheres. But this is merely our opinion. We do not really know what Jesus commended to his Father. So his human life was important in order to keep that transcript for the entire. He lived on this planet, but they say that he lived for every inhabited world in the universe, even for the future of inhabited worlds, which would be a projection of 10 million inhabited worlds. He was to be the example for all 10 million, every inhabited world. We know that the physical form of the Master rested there in Joseph's tomb until about 3 o'clock Sunday morning, but we are wholly uncertain regarding the status of the personality of Jesus during that period of 36 hours. We have sometimes dared to explain these things to ourselves somewhat as follows. 1. The creator consciousness of Michael must have been at large and wholly free from its associated mortal mind of the physical incarnation. The former thought I would say that seems accurate to me. Because remember, he's both man and God, essentially. He's both. They say that sometimes he acted as purely as the God, Son of God. But remember, if you've seen the Father, you've seen the Son, so there's a oneness there. Sometimes he has acted purely as the man, and sometimes he acted as a combined nature of both. The former thought adjuster of Jesus we know to have been present on earth during this period and in personal command of the assembled celestial hosts. And that would be however many angels, celestial beings, and things like that were on the world at the time. The acquired spirit identity of the man of Nazareth, which was built up during his lifetime in the flesh, first by the direct efforts of his thought adjuster and later by his own perfect adjustment between the physical necessities and the spiritual requirements of the ideal mortal existence. This is a key for us. This is something that we can have the ability to do. A perfect adjustment is what we should be striving for here, people, in this life. That covers every possible thing. How much should you spend on giving? How much you should spend on your own self-mastery? What you should do in every situation. That perfect adjustment. It answers every single problem, issue, question you could possibly have. And it's just up to you in your own personal, remember, because it's a personal adjustment between you and your thought adjuster, the physical necessities. Can I have my regular 9-to-5 job and still be a spiritual master? Yeah, you sure can. Jesus was a carpenter and all that. And the spiritual requirements of the ideal mortal existence. Spending time to commune with his Father in heaven, that sort of thing. As it was affected by his never-ceasing choice of the Father's will, must have been consigned to the custody of the Paradise Father. Whether or not this spirit reality returned to become a part of the resurrected personality, we do not know, but we believe it did. But there are those in the universe who hold that this sole identity of Jesus now reposes in the bosom of the Father, to be subsequently released for leadership of the Nebadon Corps of the finality in their undisclosed destiny in connection with the uncreated universes of the unorganized realms of outer space. They're talking about then this Jesus as the man kind of thing, like the personality of Jesus now being a separate identity from Michael, the creator of Nebadon. So then this Jesus would be the leader of the Nebadon core of finality. That's what mortals attain to. So that's the mortal aspect of Jesus, the man going all the way through to the finality there, and then going back to be the leadership of that core of finality. So we would still be able to commune with the being known as Jesus of Nazareth. Yet there's still also a Michael of Nebadon. We think the human or mortal consciousness of Jesus slept during these 36 hours. We have reason to believe that the human Jesus, see how they're talking about it as there's these sort of two entities, knew nothing of what transpired. But remember, it's making two one. So it's one of those paradoxes of what transpired in the universe during this period. To the mortal consciousness, there appeared no lapse of time. The resurrection of life followed the sleep of death at the same instant. And this is about all we can place on record regarding the status of Jesus during this period of the tomb. So those aspect of Christianity where he was in the tomb and then, they uncovered it and all there was garments because he has resurrected. He was in the Urantia form at that time. This book really details it. There are a number of correlated facts to which we can allude, although we are hardly competent to undertake their interpretation. So you could see the humility, humbleness of these beings who were even alive at the planet. I mean, we're talking about beings, imagine being that old, even being 2,000 years old, how much more wisdom that you would have and still not having an ego about it. In the vast court of the resurrection hall of the first mansion world of Satania, there may now be observed a magnificent material Urantia structure known as the Michael Memorial, now bearing the seal of Gabriel, who is the chief angel of the local universe. This memorial was created shortly after Michael departed from this world, and it bears the inscription, "In commemoration of the mortal transit of Jesus of Nazareth on Urantia." It's quite significant here. There are records extant which show that during this period of the Supreme Council of Solvington, numbering 100, held an executive meeting on Urantia under the presidency of Gabriel. There are also records showing that the Ancients of Days of Uversa communicated with Michael regarding the status of the universe of Nebadon during this time. So the Ancients of Days are even beyond the local universe creator son. Remember, that's part of God the sevenfold. That's why if you want to understand God as far as how can all these different aspects still be considered God, yet it still be as monotheism, it's not pantheism. Understand God the sevenfold, okay? That's the Ancients of Days, that's the local universe creator son, the seven master spirits. But it's all one God, just because of, not beyond a logical kind of thing. We know that at least one message, even though I say beyond logical, I always remember that once attained, you'll find altogether logical and reasonable. So it's something that has to be personally attained in order for you to say, oh yeah, that's completely makes sense how many can be one. We know that at least one message passed between Michael and Emmanuel, another high up personality in the universe, on Solvington, while the master's body lay in the tomb. So they have some of these transcripts. There is good reason for believing that some personality sat in the seat of Caligastia in the system council of the planetary princes on Jerusalem, which convened while the body of Jesus rested in the tomb. That was a whole transfer that was going on too. Caligastia defaulted, and now Jesus was becoming the planetary prince of Urantia. The records of Urantia indicate the constellation father of Norlashadek was on Urantia, and that he received instructions from Michael during this time of the tomb. And there is much other evidence which suggests that not all of the personality of Jesus was asleep and unconscious during the time of the apparent physical death. So that is just it goes to show how large of a universal event when that occurred. Because remember, the local universe creator son is only to do 7 bestowals in his universe. That means 7 different roles where he dons like a human personality for one of them, and that was Jesus. An angelic personality. He's like, what's it like to be an angel of my realm, and do those functions? So that's one of the bestowals of his realm. So there's only 7, and it really changes the whole sort of spiritual economy of the universe, especially because this was the final one, and the final one gives him the power of being the sovereign of the local universe. As in, before, it was more of like just kind of an acting head. It's hard to explain, but it's just undeniable. It's if maybe somebody was in training a little bit and then they did their 7 bestowals and then they said, okay, now, it's not that he was going to be replaced or anything like that. It's just that's the process in the universe, that they have to earn this experience first before they're considered absolute sovereign of the local universe. So there was a lot going on when this happened, and he's in the tomb, and his followers are, they're distraught and they think he's passed and everything. We should go into the meaning of the death on the cross another time, but I just want to look at this real quick. Mortal man was never the property of the arch deceivers. Jesus did not die to ransom man from the clutch of the apostate rulers and fallen princes of the spheres. See, there was no spiritual battle in heaven over, the devil's beating us back. He's got more swords than we do. Oh no, the devil invented guns. He's going to be able to beat us back even more, like childish, illustrative type things that an early, but yeah, it's fine that they believe that. They were just early trying to figure out what was going on here, but it's time to move beyond that now and realize, why would God have any sort of jeopardy? Why would anything be placed in jeopardy in a spiritually perfect super universe, central universe, all of that? And fallen princes of the spheres. The Father in heaven never conceived of such crass injustices as damning a mortal soul because of the evil doing of his ancestors. Imagine, folks, if you had done a crime and you said, you know what, to get my savior, or to get my saving from this crime, I'm going to put my brother in there. If my brother does the punishment, then that'll save me, won't it? No, you have to, everything is you got to take responsibility for yourself. That's just such a weak way to say, oh, hey, I did all the negative things or whatever. And now Jesus is going to take the responsibility for it. Or my ancestor did it, so now it's my responsibility. There's no passing the buck of like that. And we don't want that. We want our own responsibility. Neither was the Master's death on the cross a sacrifice which consisted in an effort to pay God a debt which the race of mankind had come to owe him. We'll go over this whole paper in another time. Before Jesus lived on earth, you might possibly have been justified in believing in such a God, but not since the Master lived and died among your fellow mortals. Moses taught the dignity and justice of a creator God, but Jesus portrayed the love and mercy of the Heavenly Father. So anybody that believes otherwise is still in these backward times of Moses, and they're literally disregarding the very thing that they're trying to hold sanctimonious, which is the life of Jesus. They're literally missing the whole entire point in him saying, hey, this is about a love and mercy, not about a cruel guy who needs to see a blood sport in order to then say, oh yeah, well, he did that, so we'll have forgiveness. Anyways, folks, that is a little bit about the burial and the death on the cross of Jesus of Nazareth. Please like and subscribe. Thanks to everybody who's participating. See you the next time.